So Voyage of the Damned, the Siren's Lament. In the year 1897, the majestic vessel, the Siren's Lament, sliced through the fog-shrouded waters of the Atlantic, bound for the New World. The passengers aboard were a motley assemblage of souls, each seeking their fortune. Unknown to them, they shared their journey with a clandestine passenger, a sorcerer named Mordecai, whose age and origins were as murky as the waters they traversed. Mordecai, once an esteemed scholar of the arcane, had turned to darker arts to conquer death. He discovered that the essence of life itself could be siphoned, soul by soul, granting him unnerving longevity. On the Siren's Lament, he found a trove of vitality, ripe for the taking. As the ship slipped further from the safety of land, passengers began to vanish, one by one. Each disappearance was accompanied by a chilling melody that seemed to emanate from the very bones of the ship, a siren's call that only Mordecai could hear, leading him to his next quarry. The captain, a stalwart man named Hargrave, noted the disappearances with growing alarm. When a young boy, the son of an immigrant couple, disappeared, panic finally broke. Hargrave and a group of able-bodied men went in search of the missing, their lanterns casting long shadows in the ship's bowels. In the cargo hold, amidst crates and chains, they found Mordecai, hovering over the limp form of the boy, his hands aglow with an ethereal light. The sorcerer's eyes, black as the abyss, turned upon them, and a voice like the howl of the ocean depths whispered promises of immortality. Hargrave, though terrified, stood firm. "Monster," he cried, "your passage ends here." The ensuing struggle was fierce and chaotic. As men fought with tooth and nail, Mordecai's power surged, and the air itself grew cold enough to frost their breath. But together they overwhelmed him, casting him into the sea, his cries lost to the wind. The boy, his soul barely clinging to life, was saved, and as the Siren's Lament docked in New York Harbor, the survivors disembarked, each aged beyond their years, carrying with them a tale of the soul-stealing sorcerer that would chill the bones of generations to come. The passengers of the Siren's Lament may have thought their ordeal ended upon the ship's docking, but the darkness that had been unleashed was not so easily vanquished. In the days following Mordecai's demise, New York was gripped by a series of unexplainable occurrences. Those who had been aboard the ship suffered from harrowing dreams, each more vivid than the last, of drowning in a sea that turned into a vast, gaping maw of shadows. Whispers of a cursed voyage spread through the city, carried on the lips of superstitious dockworkers who claimed the ship was now haunted. Meanwhile, Hargrave, who had resumed his captaincy after a brief respite, began to notice a strange phenomenon. Each night, as the moon reached its zenith, a fine mist would seep out of the planks of the ship. On the third night, the mist formed into a figure, Mordecai's figure, who walked the deck with a specter's silence. Hargrave knew then that throwing the sorcerer overboard had not been enough. Mordecai had become something more, something bound to the Siren's Lament. The captain, a practical man, sought the help of a parson and a rabbi. Together, with holy book and crucifix, they performed a rite of exorcism upon the ship. But it was not the ship that needed saving. It was the souls of those who had been touched by Mordecai's dark magic. One by one, the passengers and crew began to fall ill, their life force waning as if being siphoned away by an unseen leer. Hargrave, desperate to save his ship and the people who had trusted him with their lives, turned to an unlikely source, a medium known for communing with spirits. Under her guidance, they held a séance in the ship's grand hall. The medium called out to Mordecai, demanding he release the souls he had claimed. A tempest raged outside, as if the sea itself was angry, and with a voice that echoed like thunder, Mordecai answered he would release the souls, but on one condition. He required a willing replacement to take his place in the abyss. A silence fell upon the room, so profound it seemed to swallow sound whole. Then a young steward who had watched his friends succumb to Mordecai's curse stepped forward. With a resolve that belied his years, he offered himself in their stead. The medium, heart-heavy with the weight of what she was witnessing, conducted the ritual. As the steward's form faded, becoming part of the mist, the others recovered, their vitality restored. Mordecai's laughter, cruel and victorious, echoed as he and the steward disappeared into the night. The Siren's Lament sailed again, free of its curse, but the cost of its liberation was whispered in the docks and taverns, a solemn reminder of the young steward's sacrifice. And though Mordecai was never seen again on certain nights when the fog is thick and the moon hides its face, the sailors claim you can hear the faintest melody, a siren's lament for the soul that was lost to the depths.